Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm going to be reacting to Purposeful Life or Purposeless. Purposeful Life or Purple. Okay, you got what I'm saying. Oh, Jesus, I can't speak. Anyway, the reason why I chose this one is because it goes back to the video right before this one, which was talking about wokeness. And I explained a little bit over there, but I'm curious as to if Acharya Prashant here will say something along the lines of people maybe desiring a purposeful life, and if they lack it, they will seek it in one way or another. Let's go and get started.
Does the person you are with encourage you to read? You have to ask, what does he bring for me? Roses or books? If someone has a stake in making you better, that person will push you towards books. Books are what we all need. There is the entire education and upbringing and conditioning that is founded on the philosophy that the purpose of life is to be happy. And happiness is obtained by external acquisitions. If you're not happy, go somewhere, do something, buy something, eat something, wear something, find somebody to talk to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the philosophy that raises us from the kid to the adult. Double whammy. Born defective.
Dang.
And then raised in a very insensible way. The result is that most of us remain totally oblivious of the environment within, though that's where we live. Even as we are sitting here, please see, there is this that you are sitting within. But where you are actually living, where each of us lives all her life, is in the mind. That's where we live. All experiences are here.
You know, I've heard that said before, like some time ago, like in passing, either in a movie or something. Never took it seriously until Acharya here said it, and this is a while back. And I don't think in any movies, at least that I've watched, has said this recently, or for the past 10 years for that matter, or even 20 maybe. And it's an interesting take. It's something that I guess maybe most people would agree on. It's like, yeah, we live in our minds, but then never really think about. It's really kind of weird. It is something that we should think about, though, and something that we should take, in a sense, seriously, because we do live in our minds. And the reason why I say this is because we don't realize this, and then we end up, how do I say, letting it affect us more than it should. I hope that makes sense. Because we don't realize that we live in our mind, and our mind is doing things to us, thinking of things, like all the possibilities, all the, as Sadhguru would say, all the imaginations, because all the things that your mind are thinking of is just things that never happened. And you're letting all the things that never happened affect you now in your decision making. And we kind of, for the most part, don't realize this. We don't realize that our mind is thinking of fake things, falsities, possibilities. None of it's real. All of it's possible. Well, most of it's possible, but none of it's real. And we let our mind affect our decision making because of possibilities, not because of reality. I mean, sometimes we do have to make decisions that way, but we have to be a little bit realist here and think that, you know, what is more likely to happen, or maybe not even think about it at all and just do your best, and then, you know, whenever it happens, it happens.
This is what matters. if one is given a choice to be in a fabulous external environment, but with sickness within, one would not sensibly want to choose that. On the contrary, if the environment, external environment, is not great and yet you are joyful within, you'd hardly have any problems with such a situation. So we have to live within. That's where our life is. That's where our location, our situation is. And yet we spend all our time and energy looking at the external world. The problem, as I tried to put it, is at the level of biology and philosophy. Biology produces the kid in a particular way, and our philosophy of parenting, philosophy of education, philosophy of life itself is so flawed that we totally forget that the child has to live within. In the psychic sense, the child is not born on this planet. The child takes birth within her own mind, because that's where we all exist, right? We exist within our minds. Once you have fallen asleep, when you are in deep asleep, do you exist? Somebody else would confirm that you do exist. You're lying on your bed. But for yourself, your existence has ceased. Because for us, and that's all that matters, right? Because we have to live our lives. We don't have to live our lives as per the experience of somebody else. So we are lying on the bed, deeply asleep. Somebody else might be asserting that the fellow exists. But for yourself, do you exist at that moment? You don't exist. So where is your existence? Your existence is within your own mind. The child is born within her mind. The mind is where our location is. The mind is where our entire life and all our experiences are. And our education does not take us there. Our education does not address the most important thing that must be addressed. So, more than a decade back, when I used to more frequently address college audiences, I used to say, all your education put together on one side is less valuable than one single course on education of the self, life education. But we are taught of everything: sciences, humanities, languages, polity. All of that we are well versed in. But in no book generally do we find the word self. The question of identity remains neglected. Yes, I understand. In neuroscience we take it up, in psychology we take it up. First of all, a very small fraction of students opts for these things. Secondly, even if they do opt for these disciplines, that happens only after class 12th. And thirdly, the question of liberation from suffering, that is not taken up even in these disciplines.
Huh? You know, he's not wrong on that one. It's really interesting. Nothing. I don't believe anything in school, even in college, necessarily will prioritize that. I mean, technically speaking, I don't think. I personally don't think it's school or colleges, to put ideas outside of what is mathematically, scientifically proven, or like language, history. These are all facts. How to teach you the language, how to write the language, history of your nation, of the nation, the mathematics. You know, my dear Aunt Sally. At least that's the American term. Was it my dear? Multiplication, addition, subtraction, division, etc. Um, Aunt Sally, is that the right word? Anyways, and then science, biology, chemistry. You know, yeah, and space science. But yeah, all these things are what school are supposed to teach us. Now, I think in terms of philosophy, I think that's something that I believe the parents should be teaching. But then again, with modern times, parents don't really have enough time, which is really sad. And there needs to be a parental connection with the child. If nothing else, at least maybe I want to say a spiritual teacher, but someone, because my issue with this is because you don't know people. So again, spiritual teacher could be someone, Christian preacher, or Catholic preacher, or Muslim preacher, or Hindu preacher, or a Buddhist preacher, or whatever. The titles, you get what I mean by it. And you don't know whether they're genuine about what they're preaching, or they're just a fake, or trying to get money, or take advantage, or whatever it may be. So that becomes a problem. That it's the parents' responsibility to vet out. I mean, essentially, I guess a great example would be people who go to church, the parents who go to church and realize that this is a good church and that they'll bring their child there and to learn from the church. And then go every day, and the child will now be able to go on their own because it is trusted. Or go to a guru, swami, teacher, philosophy teacher, any kind of ways of life teachers would be a good, but they need to be vetted for sure. And I don't think this necessarily should fall into schools, because what if you don't want your child to be taught this particular way of life, and that's the only thing the school is teaching? Or if the school has many, and your child just chooses one, on their own. I mean, it's really weird. I'm talking about the child, I suppose. College is one thing. I think that should be optional classes, and it was for me. This is how I kind of got started. I chose world religion because I wanted to know what religions out there in the world and an idea of what they taught. And the thing that stuck to me was Buddhism, with life is suffering, and give it 110%, but expect nothing from the results. Those two things stuck with me ever since that day.
But it's not sufficient to talk of the psyche. One also has to talk of liberation, because that's what we want. The fundamental human condition is of suffering. That deserves attention. How to tackle that problem? What is suffering? Where does it come from? And how to be liberated from it? Is my existence not congruous with, synonymous with suffering? Can I continue to be and yet not suffer? We don't take up these questions. The result is the kind of catastrophe you just talked of. And
in the West. In the West in particular, men in the West, or at least in America, are quite bad. It's because there's many things that contribute to it, and you can see it from the rates of self like that. And especially, and even in the military, I don't know if this is happening in India or not, but there's a saying for military people. So they say 22, and the saying for that is that 22 veterans a day. That seems very crazy, a crazy number. 22. I figured we're in kind of a time of peace, but maybe just the little wars that happen and those who survive and come back, maybe. I'm not exactly sure. It's really crazy to think 22 a day, though. And Achara is pointing it out exactly what's going on. Live in the mind, absolutely.
Irony is, it's still not very visible at the material level. Had it been very visible, then we would have been shaken up and something would have been done. Our indifference, our complacency itself testifies that the full effects of the inner catastrophe are still not externally manifest. So we can afford to remain oblivious. Right? But that won't continue for long. And I shudder to think of a situation in which it in fact does continue for long. That would mean a world in which everything is more or less all right on the surface. But within, everybody is insane. Externally, everything is orderly, and within, everything is chaotic. And when insanity becomes universal, then we'll call it the norm. And once you call it the norm, then nothing comes as a shock. You don't even want to discuss chaos or insanity or disorder because that's the norm. Something is taken up for discussion, consideration only if it appears unusual, right? If everybody goes mad, who would talk of madness? In a madhouse, nobody is mad. Everybody is okay.
I would be thinking maybe everyone's mad. Everyone's thinking everyone else is mad. But that becomes the norm. Because everyone is mad. Because obviously if I have a crazy idea and you have a crazy idea and we don't agree, I think you're mad. And you think I'm mad. But I get what it's saying. It becomes the norm itself.
And we are, I fear, very speedily hurtling towards that kind of situation. And in that situation, you know who's declared mad?
The normal person?
Those who dare to talk of madness. They are the ones labeled mad and lynched. It's a very unfortunate capacity that we as human beings have. The capacity to adapt and survive. Thank you. We can adapt. We can acclimatize. And we can survive even with horrible internal madness. We probably already are doing that. And being insane within will behave and display as if everything is all right. Getting it? Now, where is the question of corrective action. To treat a disease, first of all, one has to acknowledge a disease as disease. How can there be treatment sans diagnosis? But if disease, I repeat, becomes commonplace, then it is no more called a disease. It's called being human. It's a part of our human nature, no? It's normal. It's natural, as we say these days. So you tell someone, please, you are being violent. See what you're doing to the animal. They say, no, this is not violence. I'm just being natural. Oh, see, there is a lot of exploitation and lust and greed and possessiveness and obviously violence in your relationships. Back comes the reply. But isn't all that natural? So that's we are very quickly coming to. All our diseases will be called our nature. Think of the very dimension of the calamity. Your very nature is being displaced. Vedanta tells you truth is your nature, joy is your nature, right? Satchidanand Swabhav. So realization is your nature, understanding is your nature. Your nature is a state of joyful understanding. And our very nature is being displaced. We are being told that being animalistic is our nature. And if you'll call that out, we'll feel offended. You're shaming us, you're judging us. No, but it's a diagnosis, sir. You're sick. Here is your report. No. How dare you judge me? Probably the day is not far when that's how we'll respond to our physicians as well, or doctors. The doctor tells you, you're all hollow within. The liver, kidney, lungs are all gone. And you'll say, but you are judging me. How dare you call me sick?
You know, there's a YouTuber doctor that I watch, Dr. Mike. I believe that's his name. Anyways, one thing I do appreciate about him is that there needs to be communication between the doctor and the patient. And also that the patient needs to be a bit more vocal, because the doctor cannot know how you're feeling. You know, if a medicine does something, you know, you have to be vocal about, like, you know, when something affects you. And the doctor needs to take you seriously when you are serious, of course. And it almost seems like and obviously it's your body, so you have a choice on whether you take the doctor's advice or not. Although, so this basically just goes to talk about how you should be vocal with your doctor for sure. You should tell them that, you know, maybe you don't want certain medication because it affects you differently, just in case your doctor doesn't know. And you can tell your doctors, hey, you know, this kind of medication affects me differently, so I'd rather not have medication of that. And then the doctor will find another suitable substitute for the medication that you need to take or whatever. But then there's this, what he's talking about, where a doctor's, you know, diagnosing someone, and it's like, oh, you offend me. You're saying I'm overweight, or I have this or that. Because in America, there's this fat acceptance stuff, and yeah, there's you know, there's a healthy level, and then there's the not healthy level. And then when you go get checked out, you call your doctor fat phobic or whatever, because it's, oh yeah, you're obese here because your BMI or your weight's way off the scale. And then a person goes, "Oh, you offended me. How dare you judge me? You're fat phobic or whatever." I'm speaking the truth right now. Now, I have not heard necessarily any case like that, but I wouldn't doubt that has happened, and it just hasn't shown up on like news or anything like that. It hasn't blown up because there is a fat acceptance movement. You can see it on some models now. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I think it's great for like designers that want to sell their product to people to show off the clothing in whatever size they got it in, because if you have a particular size, you want to see what it looks like on you, kinda. Anyways, continue.
And I lodge an FIR. You just called me sick. Doctors are lucky. They have material proof. So they can get away with whatever they say.
Although I will say, I wonder how long that's going to be for, because, again, science has been, I will say, influenced by the culture. So now, like, gender and all that has been kind of co-opted, or has been kind of taken over whenever gender and sex has been. In my opinion, your sex and your gender are the same, because what your sex is your biological frame, and what your gender is the translation to the language. You would not always keep saying like, I like some H2O with sodium, potassium, fluoride. It's just much easier to say water. The scientific term versus the language term. That's how I interpret sex and gender. It's the language term of the biological term. It'd be very difficult to say the epidermis, or the, I don't know what the scientific names of the different kinds of stuff in our bodies. The pupils. I just say my eyes instead of saying that the whites of the eyes, or the pupil, the retina, the iris of the eyes. Instead of saying that, oh yeah, my pupil, retina, iris is hurting right now, and the whatever fluids is behind, I just say my eyes are hurting. Instead of being so scientific, we translate scientific terms into language terms so that we get a general idea of what the scientific terms of it means. That's my opinion. Where was I going with that one? Oh.
As a doctor of the insides, I don't find myself that lucky.
Oh, jeez. Okay, so actually let me rewind it real quick.
They say.
Music.
As a doctor of the...
Oh.
And I lodge an FIR. You just called me sick. Doctors are lucky. They have material proof. So they can get away with whatever they say.
Well, I don't know, for so long, when if words don't hold weight, meaning that if words don't mean what they mean and they change meaning all the time, which I know language does, but I fear that we shouldn't constantly change the meaning of words. I think if there's ever a word that needs to be added, it should be created and added. The reason why being is because you'll get, like, a lot of things in the past are unacceptable today because of the meanings have changed. And it's kind of sad. Words had meaning before, and that meaning should stay throughout entire history. That way words don't get confusing. Language doesn't get confusing. Don't get me wrong, it could be bogged down with so many words, but at least the words are consistent in what they mean. That way there is no confusion throughout the entirety of time of what that word means. And I heard, oh no, never mind. That's off different topic anyway. But yeah, I think words should have meaning and shouldn't change. That way, there's no confusion throughout the entire history of time, and if a new word needs to be created, which words have been created, I think that's great. Expand the vocabulary. But if the problem is that the fact that we have so many we have so many words that means the exact same thing. Cool, hip, hop, hippity the hop. Cool, hip, or hop, no, sorry. Cool, hip, fat. I don't know, just there's many words that mean like the same thing, and we're just creating so many words. It becomes bogged down, I guess, kinda. But, you know. Anyways, you get my idea. So anyways, my reaction to Purposeful Life or Purposeless. Acharya Prashant. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.